The following presentation is based on physical evidence and other factual information in the public docket of the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation of the fire aboard FedEx Flight 1406. Two expert fire investigators have independently reviewed materials in the NTSB docket. Tom Clem, founder of T.J. Clem & Associates, is the former Director of Fire Investigations at the National Fire Protection Association. Dr. Harry Katoma, of the engineering consulting firm Failure Analysis Associates, is a mechanical engineer specializing in the behavior of fires. Dr. Katoma visually inspected the burned aircraft and has prepared detailed reports on key items of evidence. Investigators at both firms have worked with the NTSB in several previous investigations. On September 5th, 1996, a Federal Express DC-10 was destroyed by a fire that broke out in flight between Memphis and Boston. The plane made an emergency landing at Stewart International Airport in Newburgh, New York. 5 people on board escaped, but the plane was destroyed by the fire. The NTSB investigation has focused almost exclusively on one of the cargo containers, 6R, and its contents, because of damage to the container and the cabin floor nearby. But the origin of a fire frequently turns out to be somewhere other than the location first suspected. That is why the National Fire Protection Association has published a set of fire investigation guidelines that are used around the world. Dr. Harry Katoma.
Any good fire investigation should follow the National Fire Protection Association handbook, which is called the NFPA 921 briefly. And that simply says that a fire investigation should first identify a number of scenarios and then weigh these scenarios in light of the evidence using scientifically accepted arguments. The mistake, in my opinion, that the NTSB has made in this particular case is not to include all of the evidence that has been and is available right now to them. And that includes specifically the information associated with the activation of the smoke detectors as recorded in the cockpit conversation, as well as the initial breakthrough of the smoke.
A simplified timeline helps to put the chain of events in context. The fire on FedEx Flight 1406 occurred in 4 phases, starting at approximately 5:30 a.m. and ending 4 hours later. Tom Clem.
The incipient phase of the fire was when the initial heat of ignition came in combination or in contact with incipient fuels, lightweight fuels within the aircraft. And as that fire began to develop, the smoke detector activation occurred. The oxygen-limited phase was the phase of the burning of this aircraft that was characterized and is characterized by the interval between the landing of the aircraft and the opening of the cargo door.
The ventilation control burning phase marks the beginning of the external firefighting effort. The final phase, smoldering and extinguishment, ends almost 4 hours after the first smoke alarm is activated at 9:25 a.m. Before taking a closer look at the chain of events, it's important to know how cargo was arranged on the FedEx DC-10 and where smoke detectors were located. This computer animation by Failure Analysis Associates show the 4 cargo containers near the right wing, 6R, 7R, 8R, and 9R. Above the 4 containers are 5 smoke detectors, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Each smoke detector has a corresponding panel light that alerts the cockpit when smoke is detected. The Cockpit Voice Recorder, CVR, provides reliable evidence of the sequence of smoke detector activation from the emergency's earliest moment, the incipient development phase. This real-time animation is based on the conversation of the crew. The following words were spoken by FedEx crew members at 5:36 a.m. A cabin cargo smoke alarm told them there was smoke above container 9. A minute later, the smoke spread forward to detector 8. Tom Clem.
The best evidence that's available from the incipient phase of the fire is the smoke detector activation sequence.
This animation is consistent with the known behavior of smoke spread in a level aircraft. It shows smoke spreading both forward and aft. The smoke reaches forward to detector 7. Almost 2 minutes later, smoke reaches smoke detector 10.
Failure analysis actually reviewed the sequence of activation of the smoke detectors, and we find that 7, 8, 9, and 10, they activated completely consistently with one another.
With the aircraft flying level at 33,000 feet, again, here's the smoke detector sequence according to crew conversations. Minutes after the first smoke detectors go off, FedEx Flight 1406 lands. The people on board escape. This is the beginning of the limited oxygen burning phase. Still photographs taken by freelance photographer Charles Sawyer capture the moment.
There's only very little smoke coming out, which indicates that there's very little air coming into the aircraft, which is representative of the limited oxygen stage of the fire.
This early photo shows no apparent damage to the crown of the fuselage. For about an hour, the fire smolders. The ventilation-controlled burning phase begins at 6:50 a.m. when the cargo door is opened. This greatly increases the flow of oxygen to the fire. Within minutes, the crown of the fuselage over containers 9R and 8R is blackened and blistered by heat. By contrast, there is no damage above container 6R.
The sequence of photographs shown after the cargo door was opened represent a period of approximately 5 minutes where you see the first appearance of the very light smoke above the trailing edge of the wing that then quickly develops into darker smoke and then a burn through of flames.
The burn through of the aircraft through the fuselage to the top of the aircraft occurred in and around container number 8, and that is a very significant piece of physical evidence that would indicate the potential origin of the fire.
It takes more than 2 minutes for the flames to reach the crown in the vicinity of container 6R. For the next hour and a half, additional burn-throughs occur through the fuselage. The smoldering and extinguishment phase begins after the tail section collapsed around 8:30 a.m. At 9:25, the fire is extinguished. Damage to the plane is extensive. This aerial photograph with the container location superimposed shows severe damage to the crown of the fuselage over 7, 8, and 9R. There's significantly less damage over 6R.
The NTSB is primarily focused on the final condition of the aircraft as well as some of its content, including some of the cargo containers. And through that, they have arrived at an area of origin determination.
To date, most of the cargo container contents have not been disclosed by FedEx or examined by parties to the investigation, including those located where the initial smoke alarms activated, the burn-through occurred, and the fuselage broke.
In my view, it's fundamentally unsound for an investigator to establish an area of origin without due consideration and characterization of the cargo in this particular incident.
Both Tom Clem and Dr. Harry Katoma contend that all the evidence must be taken into account.
For example, how does the smoke detector activation sequence align with the original burn-through of the aircraft, which I would contend is another major piece of physical evidence in this particular location. And there should be a marriage. There should be an association of the smoke detector activation and the location of the burn-through. It makes sense from a scientific standpoint.
By looking at all the evidence that we've been able to amass to date, such as the activation of the smoke detectors, the first breakthrough of the smoke, as well as the burn-through of the fire, the inspection of the aircraft itself, the available cargo containers, looking at the video shot by the firefighters of the evolving fire, the photographs shot by Charles Sawyer, we have determined that the probable area of origin is in the area of containers 8 and 9. And we feel that the NTSB has not been rigorous in including all the proper information in the fire factuals to arrive at a plausible area of origin determination.